Hello, hello. Greetings from the campaign trail. Today, on the subject agenda, one man, Jeb. So Jeb Bush, wearing a frumpy light blue dress shirt and looking a bit shy, but looking ready for what's ahead, announced his candidacy for President of the United States at Miami-Dade College. And we're going to talk about it for as long as I can do so without just getting bored to tears, folks. Guys, I thought this was going to be fun. I'm sorry. I'm looking for the gems that are hidden in a couple mounds of dull, plain dirt. When it comes to Jeb's speech and Hillary's recent speech, I really feel like repeating what I said on the very first podcast. Please do not give us, American voters, the choice of Hillary Clinton versus Jeb Bush. Okay? Please, please, please. Glorified gods of the elections, probably some Greek electoral gods, please do not divine upon us such a merciless, cruel choice, because these two candidates, folks, are, they need some salt. Just very bland. Anyhow, the crowd provided a little bit of entertainment. They seemed a bit lively. Some youngins in the crowd. Some people of color were mixed in there. By the way, I'm not sure how they choose who gets to sit behind the candidate, because surely that's going to be televised and a lot of people are going to see that. But it looked pretty diverse. I don't know if that was staged or not. I mean, they were literally sitting on a stage. But the crowd was, I think, a little more lively than what Jeb was used to campaigning to Florida Republicans, which have an average age of about, 87. And they did prove a little bit, lively. They had 3 different chants that I noticed. One was, "Let's go Jeb, let's go Jeb." And then one was more simple, "Jeb, Jeb, Jeb, Jeb." And then the last one, I couldn't actually quite make it out. I think it happened twice, but they said, "We love Jeb, we love Jeb." But they may have been saying, "We want Jeb, we want Jeb." Or maybe half of them were saying want and half of them were saying love. I don't really know. But the crowd, I think, is gonna, at this speech, I think it provides a nice picture of what Jeb's main support base is gonna look like. Scattered, discombobulated, unable to socialize with each other, and just not sure if they made the right decision to go there instead of stay home, have an egg salad sandwich, and watch Fox News. So that was kind of the vibe. My favorite moment was a guy with a mustache who was trying to start a chant, but all by himself. He was just going, "Jeb, Jeb, Jeb, Jeb," looking around, and he failed to light that particular fire. And so Jeb, he seemed to have a little bit of George W.'s kind of mumbliness. He did kind of stumble over his words a couple times, and And again, guys, like I said in podcast number 2, it's kind of an eerie resemblance. The way that his head kind of bobbles and swivels around is just reminiscent of George W. Bush. And it just made me think, what were we thinking in 2000 when we elected W? I mean, it's sort of like waking up, in a strange, unfamiliar bedroom, let's say on New Year's Day, and trying to piece together the memory of the prior night, and then looking over to your right and it's this moment of kind of panic and then trying to rationalize. So I think drawn out, stretched out over years and years, we are looking over the bedside to George W. Bush. And now, speaking of strange bedfellas, we had a guy whose first utterance after he said it officially, "I'm running for president of the USA," was, "Woo!" Literally. That was the first words out of the official candidate was "woo." Now, it wasn't like an enthusiastic kind of W woo. It was more of a phew. Like, oh boy, glad I got that over with. Kind of a boyish. And he kind of has that overgrown boy quality. Not as much as Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, who I'm sure will be a little more fun to cover him. But in any case, Jeb, he was there in all of his boyish charm, and it looked a little bit like he was running for homecoming king. The setting was in a sort of an auditorium, or I guess gymnasium type place, and really was peppy in that it seemed like a high school pep rally. And I think that was the tone, which, maybe that's fitting. If Hillary wants to have kind of a motivational elementary assembly kind of a tone to hers, hey, Jeb, he's stepping it up a notch, going with the high school rah, rah, rah kind of a feel. He did give a little zinger to Hillary. And here we're starting with taking people's words out of context, because Jeb used, I think, 4 of Hillary's words when he said, she said something about religion and religious, religious people being intolerant of liberals, and she said, I think he said, she said, we're going to have to change their beliefs. So it wasn't even clear what she really even said. But then he said, well, I guess we're going to have to thank her for the warning. And it was like, boom, zinger. So he had a couple zingers in there. So I think his speechwriters are trying to kind of make it fun, spice it up a little bit. Like I said before, just add a little bit of flavor to this bland man. A couple contradictions that I'm going to point out real quick, so we can cover the substance of what the proposed Jeb administration would look like. He discussed an issue of back to the whole, First Amendment religious freedom thing, talking about a charity known as the Little Sisters, who likes to do things their own way, and then, some people from government wanted to kind of regulate them, and he says, given the choice of the Little Sisters versus Big Brother, I'm going with the sisters. And I thought that was important to note out, because the thing is, Jeb Bush is actually quite a supporter of Big Brother. And as the Patriot Act expired earlier this month, Jeb came out with his support for the surveillance programs and the NSA and the quintessential Big Brother program. He said it was a good thing to set up by George W. And he even showed some support for Obama for sort of taking the Big Brother baton from Jeb's big brother himself. So he's very much a fan of Big Brother, even though I guess we can now officially know for the record, he's more of a fan of the sisters. So I don't even know what Big Sister looks like. Maybe that's even scarier. Speaking of fear-mongering and this world that we now live in, post 9/11, he also contrasted his ideas of foreign policy and the U.S. military operations as being, better than Obama's because, they would be bigger, essentially, and more betterness. To sum it up, I mean, he said stuff like, Obama is being too risk adverse, and he basically spelled out in not so many words that he would be more militant than Obama. Now, this is no surprise when you look at Republicans versus Democrats, that here we have a Republican candidate who's coming out and saying, guys, if you vote me as your Republican president, I'll be more of a hawk than the Democrat candidate. But he did follow that up with a contradiction. Immediately following those statements, Jeb basically made a promise to all the troops saying, you have my word, I'm going to take care of you guys. But this taking care promise is tied into the same exact statement where he just says, that we're going to have a more macho military, that we're going to be less adverse to risk. So this comes as somewhat of a contradiction coming from Jeb. Please let me be your commander-in-chief. I will give you guys commands to venture into risky areas that Obama was too afraid to go into. And don't worry, we're going to dominate new areas militarily. But don't worry, you have my word, I'm going to take care of you guys. So I guess that would only count the ones who make it to back to the homeland after serving their country and putting their life on the line. So a troubling statement about his military plans coming from Jeb Bush. And he briefly touched on the immigration issue because that is all the pundits have been saying that that's his biggest area where he has basically love to lose with the conservative primary voters, that he's too moderate on immigration. And he basically offered his solution to that, which was really just mostly a dodge, because he said that there needs to be a legislative solution to that problem. So, that implies that Congress needs to solve it. Again, that's not the job that Jeb Bush is running for or, auditioning for. And so he suggested that Congress should fix the immigration problem. but he didn't quite give an answer on what he would do. So I don't know if that's going to slip by the people who are wondering about that, or put him in one camp or the other. Maybe some will be smart enough to see a duck and a dodge when they hear that, when they pick it apart. And that's was the gist of his speech. He talked about some personal stuff, which I thought was truly boring. I mean, who wants to hear about the life of a president's son, and the brother of a president? I can't think of anything more dull. And to me, that does not sound relatable to an ordinary American, or even a rich gung-ho Republican. It's like, great, okay, maybe that guy, worked hard all of his life to become a company owner, and sure, he wants to pay less taxes now, but what does he have to relate to a guy with the spoon, in his mouth from the moment he was brought home from the emergency room? So a lot of the context of his speech was just talking about how he was a mama's boy, and how George W. was a nice older brother, and that his dad is the greatest guy ever. And I got a message for you, Jeb. We don't care. We don't care. In fact, that's not a feather in your cap. That's a black eye. So if we're going to elect you, it's going to be in spite of those things. I mean, I think I can speak for quite a few people who are not just impressed just automatically because you're the boss's son. Great, good job. That's what you're mandated to be impressed by in feudalistic, England, back when there was kings and lineages and all that stuff. But this day and age, you're gonna have to pull another rabbit out of your hat. And he did pull his wife out, and talked about his love story for her. He spoke some pretty good Spanish. And that's going to be one of the cards that he plays. So, God bless him for it. And I will say, to close, that he did say, God bless you all. But he did not say, God bless America, or God bless the United States of America. Hillary did it. And, Jeb, did the teleprompter mess up? I mean, I don't know. To me, and I will report to you folks right here, right now, this is a very ominous omen for the Jeb campaign, that either his speechwriters dropped the ball, maybe they were paid off, or maybe his tongue tied up into a knot, or maybe he just suddenly experienced the fear of God. Maybe a memory came back of something horrible that's buried in his past. But whatever the case, he did not ask God to bless America at the very end of his announcement speech. So, like I said, a very worrisome omen to start your campaign with. And maybe, just maybe, he's gonna, get the deserving, I guess, divine sort of punishment for not making that offertory. And maybe we'll see some of these other fellas and ladies, have their chance at the prize. And I actually think so. I don't think that this election is set. I even think none of these candidates have it in the bag, even as much as Romney did this early on. And, we're considering that we're the most overweight, obese country in the world, we like a little flavor with our entree. And It was just too bland for comfort. So there you have it. Jeb's non-sensational speech, raising the bar, let's say a couple percentage points in either negative or positive territory from Clinton's speech. I think Americans are going to expect a little more from some of the guys and gals out there. And they'll get it. They will get it. So, we got that out of the way. And let's look for some more interesting tidbits out there on the campaign trail, shall we? So be sure to tune in to the next podcast, please. Subscribe. And maybe give me a rating after the next podcast. But guys, this is the real stuff in the campaign. I'm going to be covering, all the main events in this narrative, in this story that we are all a part of. And so there you have it. Check back next time on the campaign trail with me, Dan Winslow, here at Presidential Speculatainment. See you then.